Charge it back
It
in.
disappears. Installation. No, yeah, that's just.
This again is just we're gonna take this. Which we're about to actually, if you guys don't want to, we just need to order a bite. So that's why we're going to order it today. I'll wait and start this.
Carl, can you make sure there's nobody else out in the hall that's waiting? Come back in, please. Okay, it's 11:13 a.m. on May the 4th, 2026. We are going to reconvene the Gillespie County Commissioners Court special meeting. We are going to move to item number 5, which is consider approval of the purchase of exterior Christmas decorations for the county courthouse square and identify a funding source for same.
So the reason for this item today is to purchase the bow for the front of the courthouse. We need to purchase it before the end of the month if possible, just to give the vendor, whichever one we choose, the same time frame or long enough to be able to build it. Because it's the bow is, when I sent out asking for quotes on the bow, I gave her a size between 13 to 15 feet wide in circumference. So 13, 15. My original thought was to have some tails coming down, which would make the length a little bit longer, but a couple bows that I saw were similar in circumference. So that was the bow that I did use for the quotes. The one quote is by Lighting by GGA. And they're out of Waco. And they have a leasing option versus a purchase option, and I'm going with the purchase option as opposed to the leasing. The quote from Lighting by GGA, the quote was $27,562. Again, it's going to be through hot funds. The second quote for Memorial Paint Windows cleaning is $16,226.
How much?
And that's $16,226. And again, that's for the purchase of the bow, not the leasing of the bow.
I feel like we need photos or some kind of representation to see, at least for me personally, to see what this looks like. Make sure these are these, similar or same item, or at least look like what we're expecting it to look like.
That, I want to see a whole plan. I mean, to where we're moving in the right direction, especially for that kind of.
Let me see, it's from my catalog.
But that's just the bow, right? The bow?
Yeah, that's the request, yes, just the bow.
So the bow would be a 3D. I have this on my phone, is what I sent them. It just looks.
Is there an idea of lifespan of this type of product? If we purchased it, I mean, how long would we be able to use?
It's within 10 years. LED lights they last a long time, so they reference about 10 years for the life of this. And I think that's at least 10 years.
Do you know what it's constructed of? I mean, is it?
It's metal frame and then LED lights, so I just know it's metal.
So it's an entirely light
Yes.
produced bow. It's not like a It's no fabric or any kind of red.
Right, the one that you were looking at last year was a fabric bow with a metal frame, and that one did not have worked. We would have had to go in and add lights into it so that it eliminated. But this one, we thought the lifespan of the bow and the LED pre-lit or LED would be a better option. Because the wear and tear of the other bow, if it had, I know that the fabric of it is going to be more a hard indoor-outdoor material, but that might, with hail damage or any kind of storm, we didn't know if it would ruin faster. So, and I mean, LEDs are kind of subject to that too, but I think this would be a better option.
And Lindsay, what's the timeline for ordering this? If we,
I believe at the end of May, early June is when we would need to order it to.
I'm sorry,
It needs to be in May.
in May?
Yes, sir. I can answer your question on the construction if you need clarification.
You have any questions?
There was a lot going on a while ago, Lindsay, when you were explaining everything. I kind of, before I can really make a plan or decision for me, I'd like to have it all written out and kind of per building and.
So it's the only difference I was trying to explain to Marcy too, it's the exact same as last year, but we're adding a bow, we're adding trees, and we're adding lights to the windows of the library and the courthouse and the top of the gazebo. So we're just adding the 8 trees and then the library and the annex one county, library more lit dark last year with just the ceiling lights from this building, were lights by the city. But the scope of work from what we did last year is essentially the same with those additions.
But you have that written down somewhere, don't you? I mean, because if you're having to send it out to multiple people to do it. And what happens to this bow in the off-season?
Jeff has a place to hang it, to protect it.
In your office?
Huh?
In your office?
In my, okay.
I mean, I feel like we need to have a comprehensive plan just because, when we're piecemealing it like this, I don't know, we need to have sort of a total project and know what the total proposed cost would be, including the lighting side of it, the building decor side.
So that would be a separate entity, but I can do that.
I mean, I understand what you're saying as far as procuring it separately, but I mean, we need to have a project budget for the entire deal. And, if we just keep picking up things here and there, then I feel like we just sort of lose track of where we're going, or may not know where we're going, or we're already going to be buying stuff. So, I mean, my preference would be to try to get together a more comprehensive plan that we can discuss this month and try to take action on the things that need to be done this month.
That was my desire, to get a better, perfect footprint.
Are you, Lindsay, are you planning on trying to procure bids for the actual lighting also?
Yes.
I mean, is that something we can
I'm
do?
working on that, I've sent it out to 2 people so far,
Okay.
and I was just on this last week.
Any other thoughts from the Commissioners Court?
I prefer to take no action today. It's my preference.
That's fine with me.
So would you like the pictures and everything in the next meeting, when we do one?
I think we need as much information as you can get. We do have individuals that signed up to speak on this item. I believe the court's going to take no action on this item today. It will likely be presented at a future meeting in May. If y'all want to make a comment, you're still welcome to. Ms. Wyrick, she's not back yet. I think she's gone for the day. Mr. Neisky, did you want to make a comment on item number 5?
I defer.
Ms. Schneider?
Say Mr. or Mrs.
You can go ahead, and you signed up too, so if you want to go.
I kind of, I'm reiterating what I had said before, with the difference, and I don't know what the scope, how that, what is that scope in relation to the entire project? And obviously, whatever that scope was submitted today, they have almost a 70% difference in the budgets. The scope must not be understood. So somebody's not conveying to the bidders, what do we want you to bid on? Because there shouldn't be a difference of $11,300 on a boat. So I think I applaud the court for saying, let's defer. We need better information, concrete plans, and then get the proper bids. That would be my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Schneider?
My concern is the amount of money we're spending, and hot taxes are supposed to be used to put heads in beds. I'm failing to see, and Commissioner Cromer, I never heard any comments that were happy about the lighting last year. It looked like a big box. And is this really good use of taxpayer money to decorate all of this stuff? I mean, I love Christmas, and to me, it is a big part of our German heritage. And so I love that. But is it really the obligation of our county, especially when we are in the dire straits that we are in with our bond rating, with the treasurer's office? We have no idea where we are on budget. And to spend $27,000 on a boat is offensive. Even $16,000 is offensive. That is money that could be used towards our volunteer fire departments, towards issues that really impact the health and welfare and safety of our community. I would strongly encourage you all to please give this thought and look at other designs that aren't so costly. I mean, we've got people who are struggling to make their house payments, and their valuation on their taxes just went up. And we're gonna put $27,000 into a boat. I just, please think about this.
Thank you. Ms. Robach?
Sir, my dogs and my ponies are back in the barn. However, I am sorry that I did not bring my flying monkeys today, and I'll defer to the decorum of the court. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Strange?
I like this 10 o'clock meeting time. Gets me closer to lunchtime. My name is Scott Strange. I'm a resident of Gillespie County. I represent no one or any legal entity. I am here as a private citizen about our county's financial future. Some of the things I'm going to talk about may seem to be drifting off path, but they are germane to the subject of our financials and our expenses, which is what this Christmas decoration is. And with what I do for a living, contractors, I deal with them all the time. I get bids from people all the time. And I can tell you this, when you've got the same bid, supposedly, and it's $11,000 different, there's something wrong. There's somebody missing some information, or somebody's trying to stick it to you or something. But there's something wrong. We need to look at those in depth before we okay anything. And I'm really embarrassed. I've been to a lot of these meetings. Some of you recognize our group. We've been here doing things, but I'm truly embarrassed. I've heard more conversation out of everyone in this Commissioners Court and Judge and Ms. Brown than I've heard about the treasurer, that I've heard about our AA plus credit rating being put in watch review negative, while the city's credit goes from AA to AAA. It's curious. The difference of two different agencies and the way they're handling things is making a big difference, and it's hurting us financially, and it will come out of our pockets, all of us. So I'd like to know, what was the total expenditure for the 2026 Christmas light display? Does anybody know that?
25.
25. Oh, 2025. So what was that expense versus what we're fixing to spend now? Are we in apples to apples? Are we comparing about the same?
So what's discussed today, or what was being proposed by the clerk's office, was an additional item that was not in last year's package, so to speak. And last year we paid $30,070.
Okay, thank you.
So-
But that was just for the lighting.
But that was just for the lighting decor. So this is an additional item that was not on there last year.
So I would implore you to look at those bids further and not accept any bid at this time. Those numbers are just too far apart. You know, and I'm really embarrassed about the fact that all of the conversation we've had today for almost an hour and a half, I've never heard in this committee up until now. And we're talking about Christmas decorations. I don't get it, guys. I don't get it. I mean, there's so much that needs to be taken care of with our financials, that are pertinent issues, things that need to be taken care of. And when we're talking about this, we spent more time talking about this than we have the treasurer's issue, the auditors, you know. My last request is that if you perhaps would provide a proper reading of the minutes, not just the process, because when you grabbed that piece of paper out of her hand today, she was gonna hand it to me, you looked at it to see that it was just the process. So we need the reading of the minutes of your discussions of what you're doing, because you guys are coming in here and saying, I make a motion, I second, discussion, no discussion, pass, boom. Boom, it's cookie cutter stuff. You guys are talking in private, making your decision, making your minds up before you get here. And that's not.
That is a false accusation. That is completely false. We do not discuss these things in private.
When you guys come in here and do nothing but make a motion, there's no discussion, there's no involvement of the public. We have no clue what you guys are doing, the minutes. We need the minutes. We need to know that. It's just being transparent.
You're saying you need the agenda items because we're making motions on agenda items, not on minutes.
If we're doing the agenda items, then why is there, what are the bills and the claims? You know, you say you're approving bills and claims. What are they? You know, money's just flying out the window. Y'all passing these things and we're just wanting to find out. Because if we're aware, perhaps there's somebody that in our civilian network that might be able to assist you with something, to be able to help you. But this is rubber stamping this stuff is excessive. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have a comment on the consent items, like the bills and claims, et cetera, the expenses. Typically, we get those fairly late, just because the auditor has to work through them, and they, you know, they usually, I mean, they're under duress to try to get them to the meeting, and so I'm going to meet with the auditor and see if we can. I think that everything in there is public information, but if it is, then we will do an addendum posting. It might be late, it might be like right before, like the day before the meeting, in the afternoon or evening, but we can addendum. Because I was thinking about that, you know, like y'all, when you look at the packet and those items, you can't really see, you know, because we typically don't get them till right before the meeting, and we have hard copies up here, but it doesn't allow the public to really review those expenditures. So I, you know, barring any objection from the auditor's office, and we'll try to get those out.
Thank you for that. I just wanted to add
Sorry.
too, that the detail is what I'm looking for. Every decision that I make, I have accountability all the way up the line, all the way to Abilene, Texas. If I miss something, they catch it, and I go back and correct it, and I thank them. I'm not here to excoriate anybody, or I just want the process to be more understandable, so that we can understand what y'all are doing. And I'm like I said, I'm not trying to belittle anybody or anything. It's the process. It's not the person. I'm not a person that comes after people. I come after the situation, and I come after the problem. And what I see is organization, and it's communication. The greatest armies in the world would fall if they didn't have good communication. We just need better communication. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, and so the auditor's office does their best to get everything in the meeting, you know, and so they usually have to wait till the very end to try to close everything up, and then they give us all the information. So it's not waiting on the auditor's office. It's just they get the information that they need late, and then they have to try to cram to get it done, to get it into the packet for the meeting. And so, so I'll meet with the auditor's office.
It's also the treasurer, so I don't know if y'all realize that, but our office prepares the bills, we review the bills, then it goes to the treasurer's office, then they approve the bills, and then right before court, the treasurer pulls together a packet of all the bills. So we don't really have full control of the process either, is what I'm saying.
Well, and that's why I asked the question earlier about the exchange between the treasurer's office, the auditor's office, and the commissioner's court. That is what is missing, and it is not transparent, and it's not working. And that's what we are asking for, and that's why we've asked for the treasurer to come and explain herself.
So this is like an expense registry that we have that basically lists all the expenses. And so my goal is to start adding this to the public packet. It will probably be an addendum. It will be separate from the main packet that goes out, because it will be probably later towards the meeting date. But so that's something that, that I haven't talked to Marcy about that yet, but based on, discussions we've had over the past several months, that's one of the things I've been thinking of, is how, from the public side, how would you know what was in that without, you'd have to do a FOIA or something after the fact to get it, but you wouldn't be able to review it ahead of time. So additionally,
I for one, don't want to spend as much time as I do here. I have a full-time job, I have a family, I have kids and grandkids. So the transparency of being able to look at a website from home and determine, okay, well, they did their homework on this, and they really looked at this. And it's like the young man said down there, that the process of how that happened, that shouldn't have happened. That shouldn't have happened. And he's having to pay the price for it.
I guess while we're talking about this subject, so we are live streaming today's meeting. We have created a Commissioners Court YouTube channel. So we're live streaming. Today's the first day we tested live stream. I hope it's working. But so from now on, you'll be able to watch the meetings from home if you want to. If you want to come, that's fine too. But if you want to watch on YouTube, you'll be able to do so. And then after the meetings, they will be continue to be posted on that channel for viewing at a later date. So.
And we're still paying for that, by the way.
Okay. Any other discussion on those public comments?
Yes, I want to make one comment.
Okay, go ahead.
Ms. Snyder's continuously said that we have no idea where we're at on our budget, which is another false claim. I just want to make sure everybody understands, we know exactly where we're at on our budget. Everybody has a budget, we all work to our budget, we know exactly what we spent with respect to our budget every month, every day. So I just want to make sure the public understands that.
So why is it not online?
I don't know whose responsibility to post our budget online it is. But you've made that claim several times that we have no idea, and that's completely false.
So where are we with our reserve amounts right now?
You've made a claim about the budget.
Yes, I asked a question. Where is the amount of the reserve at this moment?
I'm talking about our annual budget. You keep using the term budget. Our annual budget, we know exactly what we have budgeted and how much we spend against that budget.
Mr. Guest?
I was gonna make testimony.
Yes, sir. I'm calling you right now. Go ahead. Your turn. Steve Guest.
I'm Steve Gast, resident of Gillespie County, District 4. I mostly have questions, and I think this will be a little bit for Esther. Vicki, it sounds like you have a very ambitious Christmas decoration plan. I applaud that. I just would encourage you to write a tight scope document with maybe some options, so if you don't get all the bids you want, you can pick and choose what works and what doesn't. My questions concern contracting with the county. So you mentioned statutory limits. What is the limit that you all can approve without any bidding whatsoever?
So the statutory amount has been increased to $100,000.
That's that you can't go out and buy $100,000 worth of stuff without bidding. What's the,
Correct.
what's the amount you can just write a check for? 5,000? There has to be a limit.
Are you talking about like a department or, I mean, we've got,
When you contract for services,
so if a department or office wants to buy something, as long as it's within their budget and it's under $5,000, that's our threshold for Commissioners Court, 5,000.
10,000 auditor approval, 5,000
Okay.
commissioners court.
So we kind of have a tiered system. It's like the higher it goes, the more sort
That's
of,
what I'm
the
trying
more
to
checks and
understand.
balances. And so, and it's in our purchasing policy, which I think is on the county auditor's webpage if you want to review it in more detail. But, basically if it's, under 1,000, they have, I guess they have the most discretion. And then if it's in between 1,000 and 5,000, there's auditor oversight. And then if it's over 5,000, it also requires Commissioners Court oversight. Our purchasing policy still says if it's 50,000 or more, we do formal bidding, even though the statutory amount has moved up to 100,000. We have not amended our policy to go up to that 100,000 number yet.
so currently, right now, if you're anticipating a scope of work that's over $100,000, it has to be publicly bid, correct?
Right, we would do a request for an RFP, basically,
Yeah,
and then,
there's a place on the website where
Right,
those are posted.
right, and we-
There's nothing
we have to
posted there
advertise.
now.
correct.
So Christmas decorations would not require public notice of bid?
Well, it depends on the amount. Yes,
Well,
sir.
40,000, I mean,
Right,
that's what, or 25,000, the 25,000 for the bow.
right.
Those are all,
I mean, so in
Not
that
required.
in that threshold amount, we require vendor bids, but we don't go through the formal, sealed bid process. So we still require the department head or the elected to contact vendors and bring us, multiple, they have to produce multiple quotes from
you
vendors, but
don't
it's,
advertise for those at all.
that's correct. I mean, we could, but we don't typically. It just depends on the,
Did he, for the bow,
Lindsay.
Lindsay, I'm sorry, Lindsay for the bow did her own due diligence to find vendors that were suitable. Is there a qualification process for that, or can anybody do it? And what's the criteria for evaluating the bids? Who determines that?
so the Commissioners
It's
Court.
Lindsay's RFP, does she scrutinize the bids herself and then make a recommendation to you all?
That's correct.
Okay. And everything greater than 5K comes back to the commission for review and approval.
Right.
And what is the opportunity for the public to scrutinize those? Is it just listening to the testimony here, or?
Essentially, yes. I mean, and I'm hoping that, so there would always be an agenda item at some point to discuss that, a standalone agenda item that would allow public input at that time. So,
Clarity on this would help a lot of us understand what's going on. I guess I have one final comment. When Mike was up here speaking about the two bids for the Christmas lights last year, the county policy is you have to have at least two bids for anything over 5,000, or anything over 5 or 50. Because you require two bids for the Christmas lights, but that wasn't 50,000 or more, that was under 50,000.
right, yeah, it's under 50. We still require two. It's a sort of an informal bidding process. The intent is to still get an idea of what the market value or what the market, appropriate price would be for that product or service.
So did I understand you correctly that there was your bid and they needed another bid, so they shared your bid with another employee and they presented a bid under yours and then determined that they would withdraw because it sounded like fraud? I mean, I'm concerned about all the issues that everyone else here is concerned about, but I'm terrified that the commission would consider a chill bid essentially as a legitimate second option and then proceed with the first. Did I get that right? I mean, is that not what transpired?
I don't know that the bid was shared. I mean, there was public discussion of it in a meeting. I think there was a request for that individual to provide a bid, which was not done by the Commissioners Court. And the bids were fairly close. There was a little bit of discrepancy in some of the, lighting, like I mentioned, some minor things, but, so, I mean, I don't know that it was a shill bid or a, outright fraudulent bid. There were just, there was discussion on it at the meeting about how that came about.
Doesn't sound good, though. I'm done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioners, any action on item number 5?
No, sir.
All right, no action on item number 5 for today. Go back to item number 1, which is the consent agenda, routine business items the court will approve in a single motion unless a member of the court wants to pull an item for individual discussion. Mr. Guest, you had signed up to speak on this item as well. Do you still, if you want to do so?
Yes. Well, once again, I have a question. Steve Guest, Gillespie County resident. I can't figure out what any of these consent items are. Can you explain specifically what the commission intends to approve by passing these agenda items? For instance, consider approval of bills, claims, and payments via electronic fund transfers. Are you approving a process to do these by electronic fund transfer, or are you actually approving bills and claims? And that would go for, I don't know what journal entries are. Payroll claims, that's a little scary. I mean, a payroll is something that's a contract between an employer and an employee. If someone is claiming something, there might be something worth discussion there. And fees for office, I don't know what that means. So, I mean, can you all have, pull these things off consent and be transparent about what they are, or explain before you make before you motion and vote them, so we can have a better understanding of what you're talking about. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Schneider, do you have a comment for this item?
I guess one question I do have is I've been trying to research this on the web and have never found an answer. I found a lot of commentary, but not really an answer. Is there anything in the local development code speaking to what is legitimately or legally can be on this consent agenda? And the reason I ask is because some of the same things that Mr. Guest pointed out, bills and claims, payroll claims, fees of the office. I can't tell, and I can't find anything online that says what can actually be approved on a consent agenda other than ministerial type items, like approval of minutes and that sort of thing. But to approve bills and claims without any description, I don't think is appropriate for a consent agenda, but I can't find anything that describes it in the local development code. What are the parameters and what is legally on a consent agenda?
I'm not aware of any statutory explanation for that issue. It's probably going to be somewhat really go to the heart of, I guess, of the Open Meetings Act and whether the item is noticed, sufficiently to allow the public to understand what's being discussed. And so, I mean, you're correct in that it's essentially supposed to be routine matters that don't, that if we had them stand alone, there would not really be any discussion. It's, accepting reports and things like that, and not items that would normally have some deliberation attached to them. But I'm not aware of anything in the local government code that delineates what can and cannot be on consent agenda.
That's my concern. And for example, a couple meetings ago, there was a bill placed on the consent agenda, which was somewhere between $25,000 and $30,000. And I don't think that that is appropriate for consent agenda, so again, same concerns that have been presented, bills and claims, payroll claims, fees. I mean, aren't those things that should be disclosed and discussed, or potentially discussed, and certainly available to the public?
Okay, thank you. Given the plans to try to incorporate these things into upcoming agenda packets, I think that will help, hopefully some with understanding what is in those items. As far as approving things in like bills and claims, I mean, that's essentially, bills we're paying. And sometimes those are, we have contracts with service providers, like at the jail, somebody that provides health services at the jail that we make substantial payments to every month. So I don't know that the amount could be the threshold, but it probably needs to be more along the lines of, if this is an item that seems to be of public interest, that could be listed separately as opposed to putting on the consent agenda, I guess is. I'll have to think about if there's a way that we can try to not, put items in consent that would maybe warrant additional, discussion. I mean, that's not the intent. It's normally, and part of the reason these are on consent is because when I took office, these items were worded exactly the same. They were each on the agenda as a standalone item, and we just went through them, sort of ministerially, approving each one, but there was never discussion or anything. And so at some point, I determined that I thought it would be better to just put those on consent and have one motion for them as opposed to just, sort of running through the routine. But and let me, so, the bills and claims and payments are basically paying our bills that are due. Journal entries are entries to correct a past, I guess, transaction that needed to be corrected. An accounting transaction, budget amendment would be if we were moving money from one item to another item within our, not increasing the budget, but maybe taking $1,000 from one line item and moving it to another line item within the budget. Payroll claims and related expenses, that's payroll. That's not, payroll related expenses and not some sort of litigation claim or anything like that. Maybe we can change that wording moving forward. Departmental reports, those are the reports that we were discussing earlier that are provided from each department or office on their activity. And then fees of office are the fees that each elected official collects. Some elected officials collect funds, like the county clerk, for example, collects fees from filing. And then they have to report those monthly and remit those to the treasury. And so that's what those items all are.
Can I say something on the bills and claims?
Yes, sir.
So on the bills and claims, this goes back to the budget. If somebody doesn't have enough money in their budget, they can't even request a item to be approved by the auditor's office, or the auditor's office will flag it and say there's not even enough funds there to purchase that. These bills and claims, when they get to us for approval, statutorily, we have to approve them, but they've already gone through the treasurer's office, they've already gone through the auditor's office. The auditor will not put one on there if there is a question about whether it's a legit purchase or not. So we've already had the auditor go through and put these together, and they require the Commissioners Court's approval, but they've already gone through several levels of approval prior to even getting there, or they're under a contract. And so, for example, you may have a $200,000 purchase of a piece of equipment. When we have to make that payment, we have to approve it, but that quote or that sealed bid would have been approved earlier. The approval to payment would have been approved earlier in the Commissioner's Court, and then when it gets up to the check being written, it ends up on the bills and claims, and so that's a statutory improvement that we have to do. So by the time those bills and claims get to us for approval, they've already gone through a lot of checks throughout the system already to get there. I mean, these are bills that it's like sitting down at the end of the month writing your checks out to pay the bills that you've spent your money on.
They're routine and customary.
Very, very much so. And if they're not routine and customary, they've already gone through levels of approval before they ever got to us, or got to the bills and claims.
And they are typically another item on the budget.
Yes, and sometimes that would have been a month ago, or even further, when there are major capital purchases that we make that take some time for them to actually get billed and received by the county. And we won't pay those bills until that service or that piece of equipment is actually received. So, we may place an order for something and it could be 3 months later before we get it. And then we have to receive it before we'll ever get approval, before it even comes in front of the court for approval.
One item that sticks out in my mind is last Commissioners Court, it was 25,000 plus for Chad Lowell. And it wasn't identified, it wasn't discussed. And I just think something like that is kind of concerning to me to be on the consent agenda. And without further description.
If I'm not mistaken, that was a contract we had with him that was previously approved. So it was paying onto that contract.
But actually, it was exceeding what was allowed in the contract, and it was added to the consent agenda, which is not a legal action. The consent agenda is a routine customary expense approved in an up or down vote, that's it. And
I don't know, was it outside of his contract?
yes,
Yeah, I think that's the stuff that we discussed at the next meeting on,
yes.
that had a standalone item, the things that were outside. There was some stuff that was inside the scope and some stuff that was outside the scope.
But putting these on the website clears up a lot of the questions and a lot of the lack of transparency.
All right. Any other comments, Commissioner? We have a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, I think we addressed everything on the agenda. Item number 5 will be brought back at some point, really 4 and 5 for further honing on the plans and the scope of those projects. Anything else, Commissioners, before we adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned at 11:54 a.m. Thank you.
It's by lunch.